Welcome to the Cross Canada Spotlight. I'm Mike Arsenault. Every week we take a look at some of the most interesting and entertaining stories produced across the Global News Network. We start this week in rural Alberta with the story of a firefighter. What makes this one different is that he's been a member of the volunteer fire department since the 1950s, and his career is approaching 70 years.
On September 1st, 1951, Robert Mitchell joined the Lamont Fire Department.
Just out of high school, and I didn't know what I was going to do, go to university or join the Air Force.
He ended up sticking it out here, eventually completing just under 26,000 days of service, a volunteer career spanning about 70 years, earning him the honor of longest-serving firefighter in Canadian history, surpassing the tenure of Fort Saskatchewan's Walter Thomas, the previous record holder.
It's one of the highlights of my life, yes. Very, very much so. Quite a phenomenon to get 70 years. I don't think people realize how long a time that is.
One of the founding members of Station Number 4, it's now named after him.
He's dedicated, he's humble. Yeah, he's just so knowledgeable.
Assistant Fire Chief John Helton says everyone looks up to Mitchell.
The young people that we have on our department, we've got people here, school kids, juniors, and they think just the world of Bob. If Bob isn't here when they get here, they wonder where he's at.
And even though Mitchell is approaching 90 years old, his dedication hasn't waned.
He's still able to come, and he makes sure he comes every Tuesday night. He's here. We practice 7 till 9. Bob's here at 20 after 6.
Mitchell was born and raised in Lamont and raised a family of his own here. His fellow firefighters over the years became his second family, a bond he cherishes.
The people that join the fire department, they're real comrades. You don't find people like that. Join the fire department, automatically got 25 friends.
And with more than 70 years in, there are still no plans to retire.
Feels good.
In Lamont, Nicole Stilger, Global News.
What a tremendous man Robert is. His passion for the job really is evident, and it would have to be working with the department for 7 decades. What an incredible career. And you can tell that it's more than just a job to him. He's probably forgotten more about the job than most of his younger co-workers will ever know. I wonder if I'll be hosting Global News Weekend in 70 years. To Ontario now for our next story, where abandoned storefronts are being utilized in a new campaign to celebrate the achievements of significant women in Canadian history.
Closed businesses and shuttered storefronts downtown, now blank canvases to showcase women who have helped shape Toronto's story. How does it feel to take a look at this larger-than-life poster of your mother right in the heart of downtown Toronto?
It's unbelievable. I mean, just the size of it.
Celebrating women like Jean Lum, the first Chinese-Canadian woman and restaurateur inducted into the Order of Canada. She fought to preserve Toronto's Chinatown and advocated to end immigration policies that had separated families for decades.
We've been going through some challenging times over the last few years, but when I think of what my mother went through, had to quit school during the Depression years to help support the family. She went to a segregated school. She lost her citizenship when she got married, and there was so much discrimination against the Chinese.
The campaign called Her Story also features Mary Ann Shad Carey, the first Black female publisher in North America, whose work as an educator and abolitionist gave voice to Black communities and women. E. Pauline Johnson, a Mohawk artist and entertainer with European ancestry, challenged dominant ideas about race, gender, and Indigenous rights. Known as Canada's first lady of jazz and blues, Salome Bay was a Grammy-nominated singer who had a huge influence on the arts community in this country. And Verna Johnston, an Anishinaabe author and activist, who opened up her homes to Indigenous youth seeking community and support in Toronto.
These stories to inspire the young children of today to also do their share in terms of helping the community grow and create a better future for the people of tomorrow.
These tributes on display for the month of April, but their legacies continue to shape our future generations. Tracy Tong, Global News.
I'll be honest, I had never heard of those 4 women before watching that story, which I think proves the point of the necessity of installations like that to give Canadians a little more breadth in their knowledge of Canadian history, especially about important women. Right now, in Saskatchewan, a group is walking across Canada to raise awareness and support for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
It started with a 53-year-old grandmother's idea. Krista Fox from Treaty 6 territory and her team are walking from Victoria, BC to St. John's, Newfoundland.
We're walking across Canada to help raise awareness about missing and murdered Indigenous people and to bring some of the families together so that they know kind of that they're not alone.
On Friday, the team walked along Highway 16, ending at the Saskatoon Indian and Métis Friendship Centre. And on Saturday, they're recognizing the birthday of one of the missing women.
The other connection is a little bit more challenging. That's my daughter, Megan Gallagher, is one of the missing women.
Lindsay Bishop is Megan's sister.
Kind of shattered my whole world, our whole family's world. And since then, we've been trying to figure out ways to keep making noise, to keep her name alive.
Megan was a Saskatchewan Polytechnic student aspiring to be a chef when she was last seen in Saskatoon in September 2020. According to an RCMP report, the homicide rate for Indigenous women and girls is 4.5 times higher than all other women in Canada.
An Indigenous woman is 12 times more likely to go missing than a non-Indigenous woman. Having two daughters, our families would be 24 times more likely than mainstream society to have to experience this.
The walkers receiving massive support from locals.
You know, I think that's something one should do if you feel inclined to do it, and for the other people, just to show some support.
This is not an inexpensive journey. Organizers have set a $100,000 fundraising goal, and as of Friday morning, they were just over 1/4 of the way there. On Tuesday, the team makes their way to Regina and hope to reach St. John's by December.
Every time we make noise, something shakes free, people start talking.
Emily May Simmons, Global News.
What a journey they are embarking on. They still have a very long way to go, both in terms of distance and also fundraising. Hopefully, the visibility of that story ushers them a lot closer to their $100,000 goal. From Saskatchewan to Alberta now for a story that has a bad start, but a heartwarming end. A teen girl mistakenly spent her life savings buying a stolen cell phone, and then a police officer, along with a girls' hockey team, stepped in to help.
It's a generation known for their reliance on cell phones. This 13-year-old is no different. So she stashed away almost $500 of her own cash to buy one.
It was all of my allowance and like all my birthday money and Christmas money. It took me 6 months, I'm pretty sure, to save up for all of it.
It was enough to buy a used one from an online seller.
Said, I hope you're legitimate, because this is my 13-year-old granddaughter's life savings. So we trusted him. He seemed like a very, very nice man.
Except that he wasn't. The phone was stolen just weeks before from Kyle Baumgartner, who met up with an interested buyer who he says turned out to be a thief.
They took the phone right out of my hand and started sprinting away. So it was a matter of seconds and they were already gone.
He thought he'd never see it again, but a Calgary police officer was about to solve the case.
It was like any other case. I was trying to follow the evidence. I was able to determine the location of a stolen phone. It turned out to be in the hands of an unsuspecting 13-year-old girl.
He had no choice but to seize the phone and return it to its rightful owner.
That day was probably one of the worst days I've had in a long time.
It bothered him even after his shift. And the detective, who is also a dad, is also a coach of his daughter's hockey team.
Coach Darcy came into the dressing room and he was pretty upset. So right away we knew something wasn't quite right. And then once he explained the story to us, our whole entire team felt pretty bad for her.
So together they raised money to buy Baumgartner's phone back for Tasia.
The whole year we're like working on ourselves, and then it was just nice to be able to do something for someone else.
After hearing a little bit about her story, I thought, you know what, let's make this right.
It's a gesture by strangers they won't soon forget.
There's not much people who would do that and take their time to do that for someone they don't even know.
It was amazing that this officer went above and beyond his call of duty and brought it outside of his profession, and he showed a lot of heart.
Jill Croteau, Global News.
It's stories like that that always make me wary about buying and selling things to strangers online. Yes, the majority of people have good intentions, but there are unfortunately a lot of stories like what Gail and Tasha and Kyle went through. Kudos to the detective and his hockey team for doing what's right. Okay, do you know the story of the Dion quintuplets? Probably the most famous birth of 5 in Canadian history. Well, there's a set of quintuplets that were born recently in Alberta, and it would be too coincidental if the mother's name was Mary.
Harley is a busy girl these days. A 4-year-old helping her mom, Avery Wallace, on their farm an hour north of Calgary. Bringing breakfast for Peaches and her little one.
They're hungry.
Harley knows just what to do.
Do you love feeding the lambs?
Yeah, I love feeding them more than you do.
More than me?
Yeah.
Nobody loves it more than these guys.
4 days old now, and they are doing wonderful.
And the most wonderful part of it, there are 5 of them.
Just so shocking.
A big surprise, even after watching Peaches over the past couple of weeks.
She was massive. We were expecting 3, possibly 4, but I did not expect there to be 5 of them, that's for sure. We got to let them all have a turn, okay? From what I've been finding, it is really 1 in a million to have quintuplets and have them all healthy and survive. So it's a pretty exciting thing. Do you want to feed the girl?
Yeah.
They're all able to eat from mom, but we do supplement just to make sure that they're getting all the nutrients that they need.
She's the smallest little girl I ever seen.
After they eat, they like to jump around.
This one drank the whole bottle.
They're doing really well, and they grow so fast, and overall it's just such an awesome experience.
Yeah, I love this one because he's smallest.
Gil Tucker, Global News.
Well, baby lambs are just absolutely adorable, aren't they? And it's taking all of my restraint to not make a Silence of the Lambs joke here. So let's just wrap things up for this week instead. That's it for the Cross Canada Spotlight. Be sure to watch Global News Weekend Saturday and Sunday mornings at 7 a.m. on the Global TV app and Prime Video.